There we go. And that should be right on. Alright, so there are the chat bans as you can see. That was Timo and Blitzcrank coming out from Blind Pig Banditos, and Jason Lulu coming out as the bans from Point Defense. Uh, Jason Lulu, of course, very targeted bans, but also very common bans, just based on the strength of the champions. Jace being used by Talith PA to great success, Lulu being used by Zemike to great success. Blitzcrank and Timo are also target bans against Point Defense. Zabers on Timo. Of course, MMKH known for the Blitzcrank plays. So we'll see how they continue on with the client bans, as there are a total of 10 bans in the Dominate Dominion tournaments. This is Chobra here with Gander. What do you think about these bans so far?
Well, I think that, Chobra, this is the happiest I've ever been casting, because I didn't need to tell you those were targeted bans. You know now, man. I'm so excited! Oh man, you're like getting better every week, dude. It's so awesome having you here. Look at these other bans. We're seeing a Wukong ban. We're seeing a Poppy ban. That Poppy ban is likely directed at Eulalia. Darius ban because he's really strong. Pantheon's also a really strong ban. Seeing a Yorick ban. He's really good. Eulalia also plays a very good Yorick. Yorick's in a great bottom lane sustain thing. And we're seeing a Caston ban. This does leave Urgot open, I think, unless he was in the chat bans.
Nah, so Urgot's open, quite a few open. Of course, we've discovered even with 10 bans, sometimes you use, targeted bans, sometimes even with common bans, you just naturally, just given that there are now over 100 champions here in League of Legends, there's going to be some strong champions left over. And we do see...
I think Jax is open too, actually.
Jax is in fact open.
Ooh.
And Ezreal is being highlighted. We have seen quite a few players. I mean, that's not just any one summoner, but quite a few players on various teams using Ezreal to great success, despite him not necessarily always being a overall favorite champion. A lot of people acknowledge his strengths, but he does require a lot of good micro, a lot of good positioning, and so they're going to go ahead and secure that kind of nifty, nimble, but high damage AD carry for Blind Pig Banditos.
And we're going to see Malphite, having not been banned, is going to be picked by Point Defense there, and they're going to take Jax as well. Now, if they had picked Malphite and left Jax available, Jax wouldn't have been an attractive choice for Blind Pig to take against Malphite, because of his attack speed slow and his durability. Also, since they have two picks, why not just take Jax anyway, because he's really good? So that's a very scary combination. They have arguably the best tanky Dominion and one of the better DPS. DPS, which, if anyone's not familiar, DPS stems from MMOs, massively multiplayer online RPG games. It stands for damage per second. So when you say high DPS, it means they are a champion that is able to deliver a high amount of damage per second that they are in a fight. That's what DPS stands for. It's your history lesson for today. Seeing a Sona highlight over there as well, Zemike likes to play himself some supports. We've seen him playing some fight Sona recently, where he gets a little bit of damage in addition to the normal support things. We're seeing Eulalia highlighting Warwick. We've seen her play Warwick before in a couple of events, and she seems to do a pretty good job as him. And we all know what Talith PA could do with Ezreal. He's a great Ezreal player.
Yeah, I mean, Talith PA just really highlights Ezreal. I think recently has been able to consistently either use Jace or Ezreal, really highlighting the strengths of both of these champions, and both of them, what they offer is a lot of versatility. Ezreal, of course, has some utility and damage, but it's the mobility that he brings that really lets him shine. And then Jace, I mean, by now I'm sure a lot of people who have been playing regularly have seen his strengths. It's because of him being able to transform back and forth. You can go ranged, you can go up in your face bruiser, but more than that, you have a really strong long range poke, and then when you're up in someone's face, you have health percent damage. So in either situation, he's going to be able to deliver to great success on this map, because poke, of course, very useful for either sieging someone or disrupting the channel, and of course, chunking down someone's health. That's always a good idea during a team fight. And Lysic, okay, gets locked down on Vladimir, and MMKH locks in Corki. So far we do have the 4 champions selected for Point Defense.
Is it Lysic? Have I been saying it wrong?
Oh, is it? I have not confirmed this with the summoner So
Oh, now I don't know either. Oh
I'm not
boy.
sure. I
I've
just
been saying
assumed.
Lissick.
It could be either, to be fair. I mean, the English language is, of course, it's pretty hard to figure out words when you see the spelling, but we do have Jaja and a Parkhurst now left to pick. 25 seconds left for Blind Pick Banditos. But yeah, as you mentioned, Eulalia, when I first came on for Dominate Dominion, Eulalia, it was like Lalia Poppy. But then once Poppy started getting banned out, Eulalia just pulled out these other champions and said, no problem, I can fill in the role for my team anytime I need to. So now the targeted bans are, same thing with Talent PA. The targeted bans are starting to look a little bit iffier. 2 weeks ago, we saw, of course, the whole support ban going out against the Mike, and almost to great success. It was a very, very good try. The last two picks do get locked in. Riven for Jaja and uh, Malzahar. There we go, Malzahar for Parkhurst.
We do see a Parkhurst like to do some bottom lane Malzahar-ing. I don't know. We can make Malzahar a verb. We'd like to see him do some bottom lane Malzahar once in a while. He's quite good at that. At one point, when we stopped being able to track ELO, a Parkhurst was up in the 2600s. He was one of the top guys in Dominion. It's really cool factoid for you there. And it looks like we're going to see Nunu being highlighted for point defense here. It looks like that's going to be their last pick, probably. Maybe going to see some Nunu bottom lane. Only time will tell. See if he's going to this. They are going to lock in on that. Now they got time to make some trades. And we'll see who ends up with which champion. I do want to take a quick moment to go over some numbers for these two teams that I had compiled prior to the broadcast. Blind Pick Banditos and Point Defense, they have played a total of 17 games against each other in Dominion history. Blind Pick Banditos has only won 3 of those. Point Defense has won the other 14. So Blind Pick's only got a very meager win rate against Point Defense. However, I don't know if they have played against Point Defense since Sauron's departure. Another interesting thing to note about these two teams is they both have 25 placed finishes, which means in 25 events, the queue has reset. I'm sure we'll just get that lobby put back together real quick. Probably someone had a connection issue or something. We will find out in a moment and then throw that game back together like a puzzle that you had knocked off of a table. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna take. There seems to have just been a little bit of a miscommunication. So we're gonna take a quick break here, but it's gonna be the same teams for sure. It's gonna be Blind Banditos versus Point Defense. It's gonna be. If you guys have been around, you know that this is gonna be a good match. It's a little bit of a grudge match, as some people might call it. You just heard Gander crunch out those numbers. That should say enough about just how well these teams have been performing, what is at stake for them in terms of just a reputation. So we'll bring that right back to you as soon as it's cleared up. Hopefully be able to jump into the game right away. This is Chopra here with Gander for Dominate Dominion number 17, powered by Cybersports Network. We'll be right back. All right. Um, we are back. Oh, excuse me. I think my mic got a little bit moved there, but we are back in the picks and bans here. Are we going to be looking at same picks?
Everything's gonna be the same as it was.
All right. So
The
everything's gonna
bans
be
are
the same.
just kind of throwaway because they're
Right.
picking the same champs they picked. So they can theoretically ban everything.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. So you still see the chat bans there. Um, we all of the client bans are actually the same too, except for Ari, who I forget who the last ban. I think it may have been Yorick. Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and say it was Yorick instead of Ari, but the bans are not. They do not have any effect right now because it's gonna be the same picks. All 10 people had picked in the previous lobby. There were just some things to be ironed out. So we're back in here for round two between Blind Pick Banditos and Point Defense. Blind Pick Banditos is going to be on the blue team and Point Defense on the purple team. So going through here should finish up relatively quickly. Oh, whoop. It always bugs me when I'm trying to.
Okay. Just got the word from our lovely administrator, Oni Snake. Big heart to him. So cool. He's got a long history of being an admin. Really awesome dude. It's good to have him with the Dominate Dominion team. And he's just let us know that there was a technical issue with one of the player's clients, and we've got that fixed now. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna play the game out. So
Figured as much. Yeah, I was just wondering if maybe someone had like a pick bug because that's been happening quite a bit in the recent month or two where people had to kind of use a placeholder, but uh, that doesn't seem to be the case because we have all the same picks and we just got confirmation. So no big deal. Gonna move on. As we mentioned, the Blind Pick Banditos team on the blue side is gonna have Sona, Warwick, Ezreal, Riven, and Malzahar, with Point Defense bringing on Jax, Malphite, Corki, Nunu, and Vladimir.
all right. Sorry for the interruption there, guys. And just to go back on what I was saying earlier, because people ask about this once in a while. Yeah, both teams have a total of 25 finishes each in which they have won a top four position in a tournament. Blind Pick Banditos has played in 28 events. Point Defense has played in 34 total. Each team, they're really close together in games played, too. Blind Pick Banditos in tournament games played, they have 88. Point Defense in tournament games played, they have 89. Both of them very close to 100. I'm really interested to see which one of them is going to break the 100 competitive games played mark first. And like I said, the win rate against each other is weird. Blind Pick Banditos having only won 3 out of those 14. So I'd be curious to see how this is going to play out, especially in a post Sauron Point Defense, because they haven't been playing so well recently. They haven't quite gotten used to that roster change yet. Because when you lose one of your more important players, especially when Sauron was the team captain Point Defense, now Necrogen's in charge, and Necrogen's been with that team for about as long as Sauron has, if I remember correctly. But having to redo your sort of strategy and your sort of like personal meta, the way you work with each other, having to get new people in the roster and kind of accustomed with the way the team runs and the way that you guys play. It's a big hurdle for a team to overcome. And so it'll be. I'm really eager to see what goes on. And for anyone that's wondering, Point Defense has 19 total first place finishes. They have 4 second place, 2 third place. Blind Pick Banditos has 10 first place finishes, 14 second place finishes. Most of those second place finishes are to Point Defense, and they have 1 third place finish.
Yeah, so it's been.
Long history with these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, these two have met each other quite a bit, especially in the later portions of the tournament. But this week, they are meeting up here in round two, so it's just the best of one. So that also adds, of course, a little bit of a different twist. Oftentimes, when they meet in the finals, it's going to be a best of three. But having to just play a single elimination round here against each other, it's going to mean a lot. And we're going to be heading right in. So, I mean, just another thing I want to touch upon is Vladimir. Personally, haven't seen him choose too much on Dominion. Of course, he has good nuking abilities. He has a good AoE, but he doesn't offer a lot of crowd control, which seems to be just crucial in any map on League of Legends these days.
The thing that really hurts Vlad, as opposed to other AP champions, is his range. When you have someone like Cassiopeia or Brand, they have a significant amount of range that they can use to sort of deliver their damage. In the first game, we saw Katarina. Katarina is also another champion that suffers from the range problem, with Bouncing Blade being not the longest range ability, and Death Lotus being an extremely short range ability. Vlad with his Sanguine Pool and Transfuse, I
Yeah,
believe
the
it
Q
is called.
is transfuse
Yeah,
or
those
transfusion.
two both being really short range abilities, and his AoE also. He doesn't have a lot of range. Yes, he can do a lot of damage. Vlad can certainly be extremely dangerous, especially his ultimate will contribute a significant amount to any fight. I mean, heck, his ultimate paired up with Nunu's ultimate could just be absolutely horrifying. That's actually really scary. But I don't think we'll see that if we see Nunu going bottom lane. We probably won't see that combo go down. But I think Vlad, his damage output is fair. It's going to be a question of, can he deliver that damage?
Yep. We'll have to see a little. We can touch on that a little bit more, but as we are loading in here, once again, this is Chober here as one of your casters. On the top, on the blue team, we have Blind Pick Banditos with Zemike on Sona, Ilalia on Warwick, Talith P on Ezreal, Jaja on Riven, and a Parkhurst on Malzahar. Who do we have on the bottom team, Gander?
Well, we have Zabers playing as... I'm loading the game, I'm so happy. We have Zabers playing as Jax. We have Lissac playing as Malphite. We have MMKH playing as Corki. And we have Necrogen playing as High Peoples. And could you give us a quick recap left side? I started the VOD a little bit late.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Could you give us a quick recap of the champs on the left side? I
Oh,
started the VOD.
because of the VOD. Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
On the left side or the blue team, it's going to be Blind Pick Banditos with Zemike on Sona, Ilalia on Warwick, a Talith PA on Ezreal, Jaja on Riven, and a Parkhurst on Malzahar. With that, AD Malzahar started charging up that tier of the goddess right away as we loaded in. Another thing I want to touch upon, someone mentioned, well, at least Vladimir has some sustain, and while, yeah, past, especially, post level 9, the whole trading situation is great. It's much more beneficial in the standard Summoner's Rift, where you're most likely still in a lane phase during those levels, where a 1v1 trade or just some poke is going to happen, and you're going to have to stay and sustain back through the minions. You're not going to have as much room to breathe here on the Crystal Scar. Maximum, I mean, you might have some time to go out and maybe take a wave or two, but if you get ganked, I mean, there's so many avenues where you can be ganked on this map that it's not going to be as easy for the sustain to shine. But the match has begun, so we'll have to just wait and see how High Peoples plays out this Vladimir here against Blind Pick Banditos.
Let's see, Nunu and a Parkhurst. Nunu and Malzahar, excuse me, bottom lane there as both teams head up to the windmill. It looks like Earthrider Corki is going to get there first, along with Jaja. It looks like MKH making that dive, kind of zoning Jaja away a little bit, getting a little bit of cap time in there, just a little bit of cap time in. Trading a little bit of damage there, but not a significant amount yet. Ooh, nice shot. Tapping MMKH there for a fair amount of his health. Zabers with a Leap Strike. Just a little bit of back and forth here. No one really coming to an engage except maybe right now going for Jaja. And he's backing on out of that fight. He is going to get taken down. MKH looking a little bit low himself, but they want Talith out. He's going to Arcane Shift over, pick up that health relic, fire off a shot over the wall there. And right now, point defense is, they're in the middle. They're keeping him away from that tower, but they're getting slowly lower and lower on health there. Zaber's in a really vulnerable position, especially with Talith PA getting him with the stun right there. And Zaber's not quite able to make it out of there. Ilalia looking pretty desperate right there. She's going to go down as well. We're still in a 3v3 situation up here top. Talith PA, though, getting scared.
It's been a constant 3v3 ever since the first targets have been taken out. There's just been kind of going on back and forth. It's really going to come down to who starts taking people out now that the revives have been used and you can't pass the baton anymore. Very, very good Sanguine Pool is going to dodge the damage from Jaja and help pick up the kill. But Malphite's going to go down. That leaves High People's completely open for Ilalia to pick up that kill. Talith PA does finally go down. The cleanse had been used earlier to just kind of deny any CC. Cleanse, of course, if it's used preemptively, it's not as devastating, and it does have a lasting effect. Zabers puts out some good damage onto Zemike. Zemike still just convinced that he can stick around using the right power chords to help zone away point defense, but they do finally capture the windmill, and they're going down onto Eulalia. Eulalia not in a good position, decides to just turn around and try to put out as much damage as possible, as there was no means of escape. Talent PA forced to jump away as High Peoples comes back up to the windmill on Vladimir.
Point defense off to an okay start right here, but are they going to be able to keep up this momentum throughout the game? That was quite a lengthy little exchange there. Looks like they're going for the Jaja going for that Storm Shield there, but High People's Vladimir is right there to interrupt that. Does not want Jaja to get that Storm Shield. Zaber's jumping up for Zemike there and stunned in the process. They really want to keep that Storm Shield out of Jaja's hands. A Ribbon with the Storm Shield is difficult to kill and deals a lot of damage. And Jaja picking that fight right there. Got the counterattack up, stop a little bit of damage and deliver a little bit of a stun in the process. But now it's a 4v3. Corki arrives now, just waiting in the wings in the back there. High People's having to drop that Sanguine Pool to back on out of that fight. But he gets caught by a combination of the ult from Ezreal. And Zemike's going to drop that stun, but he's going to die in the process. Zaber's living on borrowed time there. Painkiller defense method in full effect for a couple of moments. Talent PA getting zoned out, and Eulalia still hanging around the middle.
Yeah, that really turned around 4-point defense as Malphite came in with that solid force. Talent PA gets out with a sliver of health. Eulalia coming in to try to stop Corki's advance, and Corki's Valkyrie actually gets denied by that wall, a little bit of a thick portion of the wall there, not able to go through. Talent PA picks up the health relic, and now it's MMKH in danger, does not have mana to continue on with an escape. Vlad does come through to help save him, if anything. Meanwhile, point defense does still hold a 3 cap right now, so they are in a good position, but Windmill just got targeted as an objective. So as Malphite was starting to port back, realized that this is going to be not just because it's the Windmill. Already, of course, that requires a lot of attention, but with that objective being there, Lissig being very attentive and realizes that, you know what, Blind Peak Banditos is going to start focusing this down right away. If they can take it away, you know, Corki just went back to base. They have a good window, decides to not port back, and we do see the 4 members of Blind Peak Banditos come up to the top. However, point defense responds very quickly. It is a full 4v4, and it's going to be Zabers who shows up with a Storm Shield, and there is the Hemoplay coming up from Vladimir, helping out with a lot of good AoE damage. Lissig in a little bit of trouble. Eulalia trying to chase through. This is not going to be able to get the kill just yet. The health really goes down for Lissig. Lissig survives during that chase. The rest of point defense being very, very helpful in just actually model blocking that Warwick, not able to pick up the kill. Meanwhile, MMKH nearly goes down to the Essence Plus, but once again, everyone from point defense has had a chance to survive with a sliver of health and defend their point.
Yeah, very narrow escape for champions on both sides of that engagement. They are able to defend that windmill for now. High Peoples has to kind of stay back up here in case someone comes up to make a play. They can't all recall at once, because if you do that, you're opening yourself up to a free neutral, and with a point that is also a quest objective, you really don't want to even give them something that looks like an opportunity. You don't want to even suggest remotely that this is going to be free for them. And now with his teammates getting close to the windmill again, he's going to go ahead and recall. MMKH stopping just outside of vision right there to see what the enemy team was going to do, if anything, before actually advancing out somewhere they can see. You can see that same thing going on right here. Zabers with his Jax right there, hanging out just outside of line of sight. Jaja in the bushes over here, kind of scouting around. Zabers, I'm scared for you, man. Zabers, get out of the way. He gets out of the way just fine right there. And they're cutting in a really difficult position that's forcing point defense down from the top.
Oh, and Corki gets caught first, but Jaja does kite away with Valkyrie, but it's going to leave Malphite alone, and Eulalia jumps onto Zabers. Right now, it's point defense who are split, and they're not able to capitalize on it in a converging fashion. Malphite tries to go in with the Unstoppable Force to help save Jax. Not going to be successful. Jaja picks up the kill onto Malphite, but a good Sanguine Pool is going to dodge that 2-shot barrage, but not enough. A great crescendo catches both members. The garrison goes down on the tower. MMKH will eventually go down to Warwick. Jaja ran pretty low, but not nearly as dangerous as some other people have been during this match. And finally, Montevideos does get the windmill. They also get that buff during this, you know, kind of break in action. I want to talk about this bot lane. I was going to mention it before the game started, but a really, really great choice on Nunu, because Nunu can just consume the minion that comes out from Malzahar.
He can eat the Spooky Puppy, he can eat that Voidling there, and it does shut down Malzahar a little bit more. Although Malzahar can still deliver damage in other ways, while that's going on. He still has his auto attack ability. He still has his pool and his dot that he can deliver some damage with. But that sustain is a little difficult to deal with when he can't really harass with the Voidling.
Yep, meanwhile, top lane, MKH once again gets caught by Riven, but is going to Valkyrie out just fine. You know, it's very interesting to see both of these kind of standard ranged AD carry champions on both teams, both of them having a blink, quite mobile and versatile in their damage output, both of them also delivering quite a bit of mixed damage. So it's somewhat similar. A lot of people comparing these two champions. We'll have to see how each one keeps playing. Both of them have been using their blinks quite well. Meanwhile, Eulalia comes down to try to stop the Storm Shield onto MKH, but MKH is going to get out of there successfully with that Storm Shield. And Point Defense now just wondering how they can regroup and take back some points. The minion wave is pushing up top against the windmill, so this is a good opportunity for them to pressure this. Valkyrie goes out, but Eulalia is actually going to jump onto MKH with that infinite duress from Warwick, and Riven tries to come through with damage, but here comes Vladimir with a Hemoplague, but a good True Shot Barrage takes out a chunk of the entire Point Defense team. MKH not in a good position. Talon, however, has been exhausted, now surrounded by the entire enemy team. A good Arcane Shift over the wall, tries to snipe Vladimir through the house, but not going to be successful. Zabers does jump over the wall for a counter kill for Malphite. However, Jaja tries to chase through, but MKH jumps over the corner there, picks up the kill as Ezreal comes back through with his own Storm Shield, and is going to take out a double kill. Zabers picks up a kill with that jump for the wall, but Eulalia will be the last victor as she cleans up the entire fight for Blind Pick Bandito's favor.
Not sure how I felt about that trade. Jax for Ezreal right there, both of them getting taken down. I guess he just wanted a little bit of extra gold since he was going to have to recall anyway. Maybe wanted to buy an item. Maybe just didn't like Tal's PA. Who knows? Eulalia up here farming some minions a little bit. She wants to kind of get a creep wave building. Creep waves you kind of have to react to if someone builds one of those up because you can't just leave it on a tower. It will neutral that tower. There's been a lot of times where minion has been MVP of some games here, and we've seen that in past events where minion presence has been just enough to sort of kick over a neutral that you almost got but didn't. And Zamike now back at the top of the map, excuse me. Hanging out up here, trading a little bit of damage, and now we have another 4v4 Storm brewing.
Jaja goes in on Riven first, has activated that ult, but is forced to back away because of a ton of bursts being taken single-handedly. Crescendo actually not going to connect to anyone from Zamike. That ult being down is going to be a huge factor. However, they are ahead right now, 4v3. MKH has taken a ton of tower damage, will go down. Great kiting from both Jaja and Tal's PA as Eulalia comes in to help sandwich as they are kiting away, and there's a great power core from Zamike trying to get the slow onto High Peoples, but not able to follow through as High Peoples gets away with that Sanguine Pool. But the important part is Blind Pick Banditos has been successfully sieged, or they have been sieged under the windmill quite a few times, but they've successfully driven out Point Defense 2 or 3 times now.
Those haven't been landslide successes, though. Each time, both teams get to a point where it's very, very tense, and I think that they really have something going for them, Blind Pick Banditos does, having Ezreal on their team, being able to deliver a significant amount of AoE damage across a great distance with his ultimate with the True Shot Barrage. We've seen in a couple of games how valuable that's been. Corki cutting around the back here. MMKH going for bottom lane. Parkhurst is down there as well. MMKH and Necrogen on the point. Zamike is coming down as well. That's a long distance Nether Grasp right there. That's the extended edition of Director's Cut Nether Grasp. Jaja up at the top in between a Point Defense sandwich, trying to Broken Wings away there. But things are not looking so good for him. He is going to get taken out. Zabers is going to go down next. And Eulalia up here looking to get a hold of High Peoples, but is going to get chased away by MMKH. And now Lissik looking low. We've got Eulalia up here. It's 1v2. Can she do it? She takes a swipe out of Vlad there. And MMKH is, cleared for takeoff. He's going to go right over that building.
Very, very close call on MMKH as Mike came back around, but Zabers is now up here, and so is Lissik. It is going to be a 3v3 once again, and Talenty has also returned, and Point Defense really needs to figure something out. They can't be hit by that True Shot Barrage, only Malphite going to get hit by it, so that's a good opening already, but a Storm Shield Riven is here, and we talked about this before. That's going to be an absolute terror for Point Defense, so they're going to back away and try to regroup for the time being.
It looks like they're gonna go for this Storm Shield here. They're setting up a defensive perimeter. They don't want anyone to get in on this. Having 2 people capping on that way if one of them gets interrupted, someone else will get it instead. if they get interrupted by a single target ability. They see exactly what's going on here. Lalia sticking her head out. Jaja going straight in for Lisic, though. Then switching over to High Peoples afterwards, wasting a little bit of that combo on the tank there. Nice crescendo, clips 3 people right there. Jaja having to bounce a little bit back out from the fight for a moment. High Peoples is... Sanguine Pool, though, is going to be enough. No, it is not. MKH low on mana and low on hit points. They're going to get swept mid, and Blind Pick Banditos might get a quest objective here.
Well, a triple kill going down for Eulalia during that fight. Just great fighting coming out from Blind Pick Banditos. It was also unfortunate because Malphite's ultimate was not off of cooldown during that fight for point defense, and that just matters so much for them. It's kind of the same thing as Wukong during that last match we were able to spectate in this tournament. You have someone that's tanky, you have someone who can really zone out the enemy damage dealers and has really good AoE disruption. You want them to have that available during a fight, but if that's off of cooldown, you're missing a huge chunk of not only disruption but also damage in the case of Malphite, because Unstoppable Force has really good base damage, and also if he chooses to build any AP, it has an excellent ratio, and that's pretty devastating against the enemy team. Of course, Crescendo very, very well placed, and with that, Blind Pick Banditos is still ahead with that 3 cap, steadily chipping away. Jaja does get caught a little bit out here, but the key strike is going to just catch Zabers in that stun.
Down at the bottom, MMKH is going for a gank. Don't have top gank bottom, have top gank bottom. Going for a Parkhurst. It looks like they're going to get him. Yes, he is going to go down. A pretty significant dive for the bomb there. Eulalia goes for the suppress on Lisic there. Jaja getting some nice cuts in on point defense in that engagement there. Zabers and MKH forced to back out, wait for cooldowns before coming back in and trying to re-engage at all. And now, hanging out on the outside of the fight, MKH is not contributing a significant amount of damage. He's hanging out, he's trying to take shots where he can, but as a result, they're really not putting on the hurt they need to put on. And they throw down a Garrison on that bottom point, Blind Pick Banditos with a defensive Garrison, just to kind of heal that tower back up to standard operating status. Talith PA hunting for High Peoples and gets him up to the top end of the map.
Yep, finally was able to land one Mystic Shot around the corner and then follow through with that Arcane Shift, but knows that Talith PA doesn't have enough mana. Zabers comes through, but had just enough mana for an Arcane Shift. Can Zabers stick to this? I believe so. Just a ton of burst damage coming out from those empowered hits, and does get the kill, but does not have time to finish the channel onto this tower as Eulalia comes through with that Infinite Duress, and it's still a 2v1, but if anyone has sustained, in fact, it is going to be Warwick in this match, and gonna just be able to sit under the tower as Jaja comes up, is stalling both Malphite and Corki quite a bit. Corki decides to turn back around and run the other way, but Sona with that mobility buff, or aura rather, and then Riven with that built-in mobility still chasing through. They know that they're pretty much in a safe situation right now for that windmill. MMKH using that Phosphorus Bomb to just get vision on that Rush as he passes through and now prepares to get the Storm Shield. Can he finish it before Sona comes through? Nope, Sona's going to go ahead and disrupt that and also put out some good damage. We talked about that Battle Sona coming out from Mike recently. High Peoples comes in to disrupt that, but there's a True Shot Barrage forcing MMKH to back up that Storm Shield once again, and a ton of damage has already gone down to Malphite and Vladimir. I don't know if Point Defense wants to fight this right now. Zabers continues to chase through on Talith PA, but they don't want to fight under any tower, and let alone maybe even out in the open right now.
And Sona just floating around, kind of in full operation mode, I guess. Getting chased down by Zabers now, and finally getting caught. Talith PA also getting caught in a rough spot, but they're both low on hit points, and the Wally's got that suppress out on MMKH. Jaja has a lot of CC that he brings to the party, and Zabers is getting the worst end of that. Gets him with the wind slash there. Lisic being chased away. You can see Zemike coming around on the side there. Zemike gonna go ahead and take that kill.
Wow. I mean, normally I don't, really like to single out people, but this time around, Eulalia has just been absolutely shining in this match. It's not even over yet, and has been part of 29 kills for the team with only 3 deaths, getting several multi-kills, pushing people away, just using that built-in sustain to great advantage for that Warwick, and also putting out tons and tons of damage with that Abyssal Scepter.
Eulalia has 1 kill on a half an assist per minute. That's absolutely outrageous. Zabers getting a little damage in on Zemike there as he retreats back to the bushes. Jaja just waiting in the broken wings there. Vlad's going to come by. Jaja's going to take it. Yes, he's going to go right in for High Peoples there, but he's going to have to sort of bunny hop on out of the way as the rest of the team converges in. High People's going for that Storm Shield. Listic trying to zone out, but not able to do so as the fight breaks out. Eulalia goes with the suppress. High People's Sanguine Pool is... Pool's closed, ladies and gentlemen, and Listic is going to have to retreat to the drill.
Yeah, just High People's had some really good escapes early on in this match with that Sanguine Pool, but hasn't been as successful lately. Blind Pick Banditos, excuse me, has been much more aware of that happening, has been saving their kind of execution skills or long-range nukes to finish off Vladimir as he comes out of that pool. Meanwhile, also, I think Point Defense has been focusing a little bit too much on trying to get their own Storm Shield to counteract the damage coming out from Blind Pick Banditos. Of course, the Storm Shield is really, really good to have, but if you keep getting picked off and if you keep getting disrupted there, you might just have to try to go for a much more mobility-based gameplay and try to distract enemy teams, spread them out, because right now you just haven't been winning team fights, but they do get a neutral here with the minion wave down at the quarry. A good crescendo does come out, but a Parker's still left in the dust, not in a good place, and then there's the ultimate from Malphite to stop Jaja. It is just a single target, but it's a guaranteed kill as they have 4 people present at the quarry, and Vladimir puts down his ult to zone out the enemy. They do still want to try to capture this point. Nunu's fighting off Sona alone, and Parker's actually singles out Jax's Talon PA, is able to pick up the kill from the summoner platform. A good stasis coming out from High People's, and then the Sanguine Pool. Can Ezreal pick up the kill? Yes, a well-placed missile shot will cleanly finish that fight, and now Talon PA in a really good situation, still at above half health. Of course, the Parker's still running a little bit low, so Necrogen does come in from behind to try to pick up the kill, but Listic is going to go down first. Parker's also gets taken down, but the shutdown against Necrogen goes to Talon PA, and Talon PA is going to be successfully recapping the quarry as MKH duels Eulalia here at the windmill.
And gets caught out away from the point there with a suppress. He's going to try and Valkyrie away, but he was working on one engine with that exhaust there. He's going to get taken down. Saber Z comes in, gets looking for a stun. Nope, not quite going to be able to land a stun. Decides to deliver it on Jaja instead, going after him, seeing that Jaja is a bigger threat potentially than Eulalia is. Aren't able to do that, but there's a garrison on the tower thrown down by Zemike, I believe, as High People tries to pull on out of there, but the pool's closed for repairs. Eulalia and crew from Blind Pick Banditos are going to be able to defend the windmill once again.
Yeah, Point Defense doesn't really have much time left. Only about 30 energy points left right now. You know, it's just been Blind Pick Banditos steadily holding on to that 3 cap. Meanwhile, Bale MKH comes in for a gank once again, and a good Quicksilver Sash coming out from Necrogen to deny that lockdown from a Parker. So they're going to pick up the kill, but at what cost? The Mike comes through from behind, and Jaja is coming in from the spawn. They pick off the kill onto MMKH. Eulalia has actually just left the post at the windmill, and they decide, you know what, we'll just get a clear kill here in the bot and try to trade towers to finish off this game. The Chusha Barrage actually gets a hit up at the windmill, going to slow down that capture as they try to neutralize the Boneyard. Windmill does eventually get neutralized, but the focus is still down here at the Boneyard. It's a 3v2 in favor of Blind Pick Banditos. Windmill actually goes in favor of Point Defense, so they are going to hold on to a 3-cap right now. Jaja running very low, does not get taken out by the last missile barrage, but again, Eulalia on that Warwick, tanking that tower, has been very, very successful, uses that Hungering Strike. Can they finish off the duel against MKH? No, MKH will finally get the shutdown, and they are going to successfully defend this Boneyard.
A Parkhurst coming down here for Necrogen. He wants some of that. He wants to secure victory for his team. He wants to be the bottom lane hero right here. He's going for it. Necrogen diving in, wants to keep him close so he can get those auto attacks in, gets him with Snowball. Zaber's coming down here. MMKH, and everyone wants a Parkhurst. He's going to go down, unfortunately, but this leaves top a little bit understaffed. Listic is up there by himself, trying to defend as best he can, but that point is going to go neutral. Garrison gets thrown down out, but it's not quite enough to save it. High People's Vlad is up here as well, and they're trying to put the hurt on Jaja. True Shot Barrage goes off a little bit late with the pool dodge. Unfortunately for that, throws down the Plague, and High People's not looking good. Listic not looking good. Listic is gonna...
Does make a getaway for now. Uses that shard against Riven to get away. Riven had just blown her cooldowns, so was not able to catch her. Eulalia actually came in with great speed because of that blood scent, but will not be able to catch Malphite. So Windmill goes back for Blind Pick Banditos, but Point Defense did catch that Corey, so they're still holding on to this very, very fragile 3-cap. Well, Infinite Dress goes down onto MKH to stop the advance onto Jaja. And there are 3 people once again here at the Windmill for Blind Pick to defend this. Again, a pretty good time. Stasis coming up behind people, but that just leaves him to be caught up to. Stasis, the disadvantage is that you also cannot be mobile during those 2 seconds. So if the enemy team cleans up the fight, they actually just have some time to catch up to you and blow their abilities if the cooldowns come back up. Meanwhile, Parker is trying to channel down onto this Boneyard. Ballistic is here to defend it for the time being. We also have Zabers coming down on Jax. Is going to try to catch off this poor Malzahar. Does get the counter strike and will get the stun. Continues to try to get damage output, but a good juke, into the brush from a Parker's. But Jaja and Talent P have also come down from spawn. They're going to be able to capture that Corey back in favor of Blind Pick Ditos. If they can finish this cap, that should be game in favor of Blind Pick.
There is not enough time to secure a point for Point Defense, unfortunately, especially with the Garrison, the Infinite Duress, and the Ezreal ult up at the top of the map there. This victory is going to go to Blind Pick Banditos.
Yep, the countdown goes down. Good game coming out. And that is game in favor of Blind Pick Banditos, knocking out Point Defense here in round 2 for Dominate Dominion number 17.
We're going to be following Blind Pick Banditos into the round of 4 in the next game.
Yep. Point Defense just didn't have enough as much damage output during those early fights. Really got taken down, and then I really just think spent a little bit too much focus onto those